the extinct creatures era, the ocean was the best bet for survival. Imagine a world where the oceans were safer than the land. A time when the sky above you wasn't the greatest threat, but the ground you stood on was. In this video, the Pets Mapletree channel will take us on a journey to explore a rare moment in Earth's history, when the land was so terrifying that you might have chosen to swim in an ocean full of sharks rather than live on solid ground.
Pets Mapletree, the place to explore and revive extinct creatures for a new generation.
A time long before the dinosaurs, when Earth was unrecognizable in nearly every way. This is the story of the Linnan Epoch, a time when life on Earth was dominated by some of the most terrifying predators in history, and the oceans were the best place to find refuge. The Late Permian Transformation. Let's step back to the Late Permian period, around 259 million years ago. Earth was unrecognizable. Most of the landmasses were fused into a single supercontinent called Pangaea, surrounded by the vast ocean of Panthalassa. This ocean covered over 60% of Earth's surface, far larger than the Pacific Ocean we know today. Picture that, an ocean twice the size of the Pacific. Intimidating, right? But here's the twist, the real danger wasn't in the water. It was on land. The tranquil giants of Panthalassa. Despite its overwhelming size, Panthalassa wasn't as terrifying as you might think. Sure, it had sharks, but none of them were the monstrous predators we imagine today. The largest known shark of this time was Helicoprion, a strange creature with spiral-shaped teeth. While it sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, it wasn't the kind of apex predator you'd find in modern oceans. In fact, the marine ecosystem had already experienced a mass extinction event just 2 million years before, which left the ocean sparsely populated and lacking the huge predators we often associate with the sea. The terrible age of Gorgonopsids. The land during this time was a nightmare for any creature that found itself in the wrong place. Gorgonopsids were the ultimate predators, terrifying beasts with massive saber-like teeth and claws that could shred anything in their path. These creatures weren't just big, they were built for destruction. Enos transavia, one of the largest Gorgonopsids, reached the size of a large bear, with teeth that could tear through the toughest hides. These were predators you didn't want to encounter, not just because of their size and strength, but because their evolutionary design made them perfectly equipped to hunt down and destroy anything in their domain. Survival in the harsh Late Permian. To make matters worse, the land was a hostile environment. The climate was harsh, and vegetation was sparse, making survival a constant battle for prey and predator alike. These Gorgonopsids thrived in this brutal world, constantly on the hunt for their next meal. The sheer size and strength of these apex predators, combined with their relentless pursuit, made them nearly unstoppable. Imagine stumbling upon one of these creatures while trying to navigate the treacherous landscapes of the Late Permian. There would be no escaping their grasp. The world they dominated was one where only the strongest survived, and the Gorgonopsids were the epitome of that survivalist mentality. Oceanic safety compared to terrestrial dangers. The ocean, in comparison to the land, offered a strange sense of safety. While the waters were home to predators like the Helicoprion shark and the Eurypterids, giant sea scorpions that could still send a chill down your spine, these creatures were much smaller and less menacing than the land-based Gorgonopsids. The Helicoprion, for instance, wasn't the colossal, terrifying monster you might imagine when you think of sharks. It was more of a mid-sized predator, and its bite didn't pack the same kind of deadly punch as a Gorgonopsid's saber teeth. And then there were the Eurypterids. Though certainly imposing with their monstrous pincers, they weren't the size of the apex land predators. They were essentially large invertebrates, not nearly as agile or lethal as the ravenous carnivores stalking the land. The safer depths, oceans versus land predators. The oceans, despite their vastness, were relatively calm in comparison to the dense, predator-filled jungles of the land. The waters weren't entirely free of danger, but they were more predictable. The lack of massive land predators like the Gorgonopsids meant that, at least in the ocean, your odds of survival were slightly higher. The marine environment had already been decimated by a mass extinction event, which led to a reduction in the number and scale of the sea's top predators. As a result, the seas, while still deadly, weren't nearly as hostile as the land. There was a sort of grim advantage to being submerged in the ocean's depths: less chaos, fewer immediate threats. Survival in prehistoric times. On land, however, it was an entirely different world. Every corner of the jungle seemed to hide a predator, and any moment could bring the terrifying rush of death from the Gorgonopsids that ruled the ground. There, survival was a game of constant vigilance, where any movement could mean your last. In contrast, the ocean, for all its dangers, at least offered some distance between predator and prey, a brief window of opportunity to escape, or at the very least, to avoid becoming a meal. Lessons from the Lenan Epic, a perspective on danger. So, what can we learn from this ancient chapter in Earth's history? It's a reminder that, sometimes, our modern conceptions of danger are relative. What might seem dangerous to us today, whether it's the ocean, the wild, or even our own planet, was once much more manageable. In the case of the Lenan Epic, the ocean was the safer bet compared to the land. Imagine living in a time when life in the sea seemed like the safer alternative. The Lenan Epic teaches us how unpredictable life on Earth can be, and how some of the most fearsome creatures ever to exist roamed the planet. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for the Pets Maple Tree channel to dive deeper into the fascinating and often terrifying history of our world. And as always, drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you choose the ocean or the land? See you in the next video.